Okay. P. Wall says, do you think house prices will fall a lot more once the stamp duty holiday is over? I'm not sure what you mean fall a lot more. As I wasn't aware that property prices had really fallen. There is very regional things going on, and Prime Central and the dear areas of London have dropped. As I've said many times, I think that's more because of the 3% stamp, but that's outside of the remit of the 500 grand. So I think the stamp duty is causing a bit of a boom, because people are taking advantage, and according to the estate agent we interviewed last week, there had been a 43 times gain on the number of properties being looked at on Rightmove between the 400 and 500,000 price bracket, where obviously the 3% would have the most effect. So it may be that part of the market, if anyone's going to do anything, will be forced to do it within the window, or who's to say that they don't run it for longer and extend the period. If you actually look at, since stamp duty has gone up in value, the actual revenue have generated less revenue because it stopped a lot of transactions because of it. So who knows which way we're going to go. My crystal ball is a little bit on the cloudy side when it comes to what's going to happen over the next 6 months. What I do know is if you do the right thing, you've got plenty of meat on the bone, you'll be fine. Cedric said, wondering about vendor financing, and could I explain a bit? Now I think Cedric has actually got a deal going on. So Cedric, I'm going to come find you on here and unmute you, and let's have a conversation about vendor financing.
Hi guys.
Hi, you're right. So we'll talk about the first one, vendor financing. The principle is that we slightly overpay for the property in return for the vendor leaving into the limited company that you buy it, 25% of which are deemed shares, and the value of the shares are paid back over a period of time, normally 100 months. Okay. So they only normally work with high yielding bigger properties with lots of rooms in lower value areas. Okay. Not sure Liverpool's the best place in the world because the occupancy rates aren't as best as they could compared to a lot of the rest of the UK because it's supply demand. But I do know that's regional within Liverpool, so there are some areas with oversupply and some areas that are okay still, so you need to do your research on that one. But the principle is that if you're buying a property for £1 million, that you buy it for £1 million, but the solicitors, because the owner becomes a shareholder in the company, a 25% shareholder, and leaves 250 grand in the deal, you're technically he's getting 750 grand straight away, but the other 250, because it's being left in the company, is deemed as the deposit, yeah?
Awesome.
So
yeah, that makes perfect sense.
If they were selling it for, let's say, 900 and 850 would have been the best offer, he's going to get 750 on day one and the other 250, 150 more than what he probably could have got over a period of, let's say, 100 months.
Okay, that sounds really good. Yeah, no problem.
Okay. All right.
And I just do some more research on the area, but the other one is in Chorley, which is closer to Manchester. So, but again, I'll do my due diligence first.
Okay. All right then. Cheers. Mick says, Glenn, do you buy it in a limited or LLP? It depends, Mick, whether it's going into the portfolio or whether it's an SPV that is totally separate to everything because I'm doing it up to sell, or whether I'm JVing with people and we hang them in an LLP like we were talking about to Phil the other day about 100 properties in 100 weeks that we're about to start and embark on. So yeah, all it really is totally dependent on, and your accountant should be the one that advises you on that, and guides you down the right route, depending on your long-term strategies. Tayan says, what part of the country would you recommend for HMOs? Well, the next few weeks we're going to be releasing 8 strategy videos. They're all around about 10-15 minutes long, and they're on the first 2 subjects are buying a portfolio and choosing an area for no money down, and then choosing an area for no money left in. So you've got to make a decision whether you want to try and build up slower a portfolio, no money down, or whether you want to do it no money left in, which you can do quicker and more for estate agents. So it's more in an area where property prices are typically 60 grand for no money left in, or 110 grand for 3-bed properties. So that area's got capital appreciation. So I would rather be in an area with some capital appreciation, so you get some net worth increase over a period of time, rather than in a no inflation area, no capital appreciation area. But it all depends on your situation. So it would depend for me choosing an area where you actually live, and then you can pick probably the nearest area to that that hits my criteria. I normally get my clients to go to 4 towns, spend 3 or 4 days in each one, and then work on which one their gut feeling tells them. Right, do you think prices will fall a lot more once stamp duty island is over in London? In London specifically. So London's very strange. It's seen higher prices dropping and lower prices increasing because of the stamp duty. The 3% stamp duty extra that's been put onto and London I don't think is particularly affected, apart from at the lower end of the values of London, with the 3% reduction, because most properties in London that doesn't affect because they're over 500 grand anyway. I think because of the stamp duty changes, the whole of London is readjusting. The stamp duty is not part of the leverageable figure. So buying a £5 million property and using a mortgage on it, you've also got to have an extra £500,000 for the stamp duty, which is a phenomenal amount. And why wouldn't somebody buy a similar property in an area a couple of miles away for 3 million, because that's how London works, where the stamp duty is greatly reduced. So I think that's why London's having a price adjustment based on the stamp duty, and of course it's going to take a while to level out again. But also we are seeing quite a lot of people moving away from London, but at the moment London rentals seem to be booming. So we've asked our estate agent that comments on here, that's part of Fine & Country, to come back in the next week or two equipped with a lot more facts and figures about the London market and what's happening there, both in the rental, the residential and the commercial. So I'd be fascinated to see exactly what is going on. speaking to some estate agents, it's going against, you know, the dear areas are continuing to fall, but the cheaper areas are continuing to grow. So let's see what our estate agent friends got to say in the next couple of weeks. I'm still going ahead with building flats in Croydon and a couple of other areas where the end price is under 500 grand for 2-bed flats. So, you know, I'm fairly confident with them. There is quite a big chunk of profit, so they could drop quite a lot and still break even on them. So, but who knows? We'll see. I need to ask a few more agents in the area a few more questions to get a bit more of a feel for what is actually going on. Guy says, is it a good time to start property sourcing business? If so, what areas are good? Guy, typically the sourcing business, you're sourcing for people in London with money that go to network events, properties that are on the market at, you know, not particularly discounted prices. They're not looking for particular deals, so you're not looking for somebody who's doing it themselves, who's saying, yeah, but if you source me a bargain, I'll buy it, because that's not where it's at. For that type of business, you're actually putting the legwork in, charging a couple of grand for something that somebody, you know, a barrister or someone in London hasn't got time to do themselves. So therefore you're charging them a couple of grand fee for doing it for them, and that's kind of how that works. So is it a good time? Every time, there's 2 good times to start any business. One was 10 years ago and the other's now, so you don't have a choice. I certainly wouldn't be waiting. I'd be getting going and, you know, trying to find someone online, network event up north to maybe source you properties in a specific town, making contacts up there, and then trying to find buyers through network events online down here. But I think some of the network events, the smaller ones, will be starting again. Right, Graham says, my wife and I bought a house in 1987 for 24,100. Lived in it till August 2016. We've been renting it since August 2016. We never got the house officially valued in August 2016, but informally we were told by a friend who is an estate agent who will probably sell for around 180,000. The less well presented house next door sold for 163 in August 2016. If I sold the house in the future, how would capital gains be applied? Bearing in mind no official valuation was obtained. I think it becomes a negotiation, and I think this is an accountant's job. I think you're just going to put in what you think, and then the HMRC are either going to challenge it or not. This again is more the skill set for an accountant to be dealing with. More than happy if you drop me an email to put you in touch with somebody that should be able to help you, maybe even mitigate some of the gain. What has the value gone up? Where is it, and how much has it gone up since August 2016? That would be an interesting figure to have a look at. So we're talking, it may not well be that it's gone up an amount that between you and your wife, your capital allowances or your just North Manchester, probably about 190. So yeah, I would say that the capital gains, you're probably going to be able to use your capital gains allowances and not end up paying anything if you sold it now. But that's my best guess at the moment. You really should seek proper help, and if you drop me an email to info@glenarmstrong.com, or in fact drop that one to glenn@glenarmstrong.com, and I'll make sure that goes to the right accountant. Lorna says, don't forget Jim's contact details. I did email you. Lorna, I haven't looked at any emails. I've been filming all day and don't intend to look at my emails till the weekend. So I will buzz it to you then. Palmetto says, any updates? Palmetto, I will try and talk to the person over the next few days. I've been flat out busy. I had a week away and catching up at the moment. Dave Adler, if you can hear me, if you could give me a call about 7:30, then perhaps we could talk a little bit more about this tax saving thing you were talking about and see where we can go with it, because I have a little bit more time, because I'm going to be in the car for a while this evening. So around 7:30 would be cool. If you could call me then, David, that would be really cool. Tayan said, where in the UK are the best places to do flips? You've asked the question, where in the country would you recommend HMOs? It kind of sounds like you're not quite sure what to do. I think the most important thing is to decide on what strategy you are going to do, and that will depend on how much cash you've got and where you live. Flips, again, I've done an hour video today on flipping properties, so it might be an idea to wait for them to come out, and then you'll get all of that information on the shortened versions. So there we go. Right, Palmetto said, what would or should a nominee option holder charge? For example, a 500 grand transaction with 375 of that coming back same day. Palmetto, I'm going to need to know more details than that. We used to do daylight bridging, same day bridging, and we used to charge anything from 500 quid to 2 grand. If we knew it was guaranteed to come back from solicitors, then kind of 2 grand was about the figure maximum for larger amounts. Joanna says, what type of properties would work best with delayed completion, and do you need a company set up to buy using this strategy? Okay, so Joanna, first of all, I tend to set up a company for every project individually, so that nothing gets muddled up and it has its own bank account. I like doing delayed completions with properties I can build a large extension on or convert into flats, so that tends to be in areas where the value is over £400 per square foot, because when we build an extension in that type of area, it adds significant value. There are criteria that you need to keep to, which I always go through on our Zoom course. So, right, Palmetto says, I have a deal where we need to put in 500 grand with the vendor agreeing 125 on a delayed completion up, but for the finance company we need to show 500 grand with the vendor agreeing 125 grand on a delayed completion. That doesn't make sense to me. What are you putting 500 grand into? Joanna just says thanks. Niraj says, what's the minimum deposit required to buy property under a limited company? If the potential director owns 4 buy-to-let properties, can director get a loan without deposit money? Use 4 buy-to-let properties as guaranteed asset. It depends, Niraj. If you're buying from a bridging company, they'll lend you 75% and top the other 25% up off your other properties, as long as they've got more than out of the first 75% of their equity. I'm assuming you're asking for minimum deposit, not to exchange, because that could be £1, but for mortgages. You can do them on 85% mortgages. I'm not sure whether they're back properly yet or not. And also yesterday I was contacted by a bridging company that are now doing 75% of value rather than 75% of the purchase price. So if you're getting a jump from it, that's cool. Palmetto says just need the same day arrangement where we put the money in and back out same day. 375. Palmetto, I'm going to refer you back again. Look, you're doing some quite big stuff. Jump on our mentoring program, talk to one of the clients, my staff. Let's get you on the mentoring program and let's get you doing this properly, and and just get it done so that we can structure you right. It's not about joining the mentoring program after you've done a few projects. It's about me helping you do the first project, a few projects, to make sure you don't mess up. Andrew said, how do you fund delayed completion work? Normally by letting a third-party lender, not a bank, but an individual, secure off of the actual property, and them putting money in and doing it like that, or myself putting money in and doing it like that and securing with the vendor. Graham says, what criteria are used or should be used to calculate a sourcing fee? That's a difficult one, Graham. We have a structure for our sourcing company, and it starts off a property under 100 grand at 2 grand plus that. As we move to over 100 grand, it moves to 3 grand, and if it's an HMO, it goes a little bit more, plus there's a refurb charge to add to that as well. I know Christos charges 5 or 6 grand for some deals, so it really does depend on what profit is in or discount is in the deal that the sourcer is giving you. Palmetto says, is the online course you're filming for a YouTube video? Palmetto, we are doing 8 overviews videos on 8 of the strategies, and we're also doing 8 videos on specific strategies at £97 per strategy, and they'll be going live in the next few weeks. Gary in front of me is doing my video work at the moment. He's pulling faces because he's doing the editing, but I'm sure he'll be fine. Right, let's just go to Ali. The build projects you're currently working on, did you buy the land, and if so, where were the plots found? Okay, one came to me through my architect, because I JV with my architect, and that's just the land that I am buying. I think you asked the question, how many projects have you got at the moment? The projects I'm currently running have got around about £6 million profit in them. I think it's probably about across 7 projects, all which I've done since September. And one I've done more recently, the others I landed between September and December, but I've had to get them over the line. So we agreed them in principle before then, and then COVID kicked in, so I didn't do any more, but I'm literally just in the process of buying a plot to build 9 flats on. Andrew said, if you own an HMO conversion property, should you sell it into a limited company before converting it? Andrew, I would say that's a question for the accountants next time they're on here. Or set up a meeting for yourself to go make sure you're all geared right for what you're doing. Andrew said he has a property for conversion, it's currently a buy-to-let. Should you sell it into a limited company? I think the structure, Andrew, you just need to speak to the accountant, because this is really a tax structure that you need to put that into to make sure that that works for you the best way. Palmetto said, are you about to arrange the nominee facility? If then, can discuss the details further, as I'm dealing with the G on the deal. Yes, we can get nominees for you, Palmetto, no problem. So it's something I do for all of my mentees. Tayan said, will your videos be on your YouTube channel? The 15-minute intros will be, yes, for definite. They'll also be available via email links and on my website, which is being relaunched any day now. There will be a download your 8 strategy guide videos from here. Click here and that's how they'll come. They'll be available again in the next couple of weeks. Peter says, does it not cost more having a different limited company for each project? I would understand one company for all the buy-to-lets and another for the developments of flip-in deals, maybe another for HMOs, even if there are 5 HMOs. Look, I would have, if I've got a portfolio split across 2 towns, I'd have my whole portfolio in each town in their own limited company. So it doesn't matter whether there's 1 or 10 properties. If they're in one town, I'd have them all in one limited company. When it comes to development projects where we're building blocks of flats and doing all sorts of things, and I've got different shareholders and different partners and different investors, then we just have to have a different SPV for every single project. Otherwise it would just get into a total mess and a different bank account for each project. And yeah, that's kind of where it goes. Flipping, just base flipping, can potentially be done through the same company by drop-in sales. If you're funding them and you haven't got JV partners and stuff. I've had over 30 projects all running in one limited company previously. So, but again, it is all about speaking to your accountant and making sure it's set up for you correctly. Jason says, what mechanism do you use to exchange at one price and complete at another? I tend to take options at one price and complete at another price. Exchanging subject to, but no, I can't think once you've exchanged, you've got a price locked in and that's it. So I don't think that I can think of anything where I've exchanged at one price and completed at another, unless they've been conditional. I can't think of anything offhand. So Graham, if I said missed the last part of your answer, if you could ask the question again that you didn't hear, I'm happy to repeat. I'm not quite sure what question you're referring to. Andrew says, if you own a buy-to-let property for HMO conversion, should you move a limited company before or after conversion? It depends, Andrew. Depends on how many properties you've got. It depends on so many things, your own personal situation, whether or not it's captured into the section 24 because it's commercial or deemed commercial. Lots of different things to take into account. So I think, Andrew, that's more a accountant's question. Tayan said, thank you, Len, for your videos. I asked my question be on your YouTube channel. Yes, so the answer is the 15-minute overview strategy videos will be on the YouTube channel. There'll be 8 of them for 8 different strategies, and each one of the strategies there'll be an hour video that's not on YouTube, but it's on our private bit of YouTube that you'll get a link to if you want to buy that strategy video. I've had a lot of feedback that people are wanting to get on the mentoring program, that it's a little bit high in price for them because of their own personal situation, and I'm trying to create a halfway house for you. Niraj says, I've done your 3-day training course, bought your class 1 after training, had 1 property back then, now I have 4. You said not to buy properties at auction. What do you suggest now? Still stay away from auction properties. Niraj, the reason I don't like auctions is because you can spend a hell of a lot of time researching the properties. You come up with a price, you decide you're going to spend 100 grand buying the property, and the bidding starts at 105 grand, which is really annoying. Having taken a day out to go to the auction, normally half a day waiting for it to get to that property, etc, etc, etc. So I'm not saying you can't get properties in auction, but I tend to find that where it's a typical ordinary property, they'll quite often fetch more through the auction than they will through an estate agent. And you know, if I've got a property that needs lots of work, my tendency would be to put it into an auction and reserve it at a low price, rather than doing it up and sell, because nearly always, especially in the south of England, someone will go over a sensible price for the property, so not to lose it. Graham's question of how your sourcing fee is calculated that he missed because my voice dropped off. Sourcing fees tend to start for under 100 grand property. This is what we charge, 2 grand. For a 100 to 200 grand property, 3 grand. If it's under 100 grand property but it's an HMO, we charge 3 grand. And if it's 100 to 200 grand property that we charge 3 grand for and it's an HMO, we charge 4 grand. The charge will totally depend on the discount and the property. The 2 grand, 3 grand charges are just charges for doing work for people that don't have time to do it. Premiums, obviously, if you've got a property that's got a huge discount, you're going to want a much larger sourcing fee to potentially get part of that discount, or maybe even retain a percentage in the property. There are so many different ways of doing it, and there's no right or wrong. The sourcer obviously wants to maximise their charge, and the buyer who's using the sourcer wants to minimise it. And as long as it works for both of them, it works for both of them. Certainly next time Chris is on, who runs our sourcing company, that would be a good person to ask about a range of different things that he's charged different amounts for. Jason says, exchange with delay completion, so you do all the work and then sell them without actually completing, as I guess your buyer completes. No, you haven't normally found a buyer. You normally exchange contracts, do the work, and you do the work and then sell it on to whoever it is that buys it, but you never actually complete on your property. Tahan said, when will the videos be released? We'll probably be releasing them in the next 2 or 3 weeks. It just depends how quick they can be edited. Okay, alright, well that's brought us to the end of the questions today. It's also pretty much to the end of the 45 minutes that we normally do. Sometimes we do go on if there's loads of questions coming in. And looks like we're going to get an early night. So thank you for joining us this evening. Have a great week. Go out and find some property deals. Take advantage of the current situation at the moment. I'm here to help. Have a good evening, and I'll speak to you all again. I think it's Ajit tomorrow doing the mortgage stuff, so I'll be talking to you all again on Monday. On Monday I am speaking to Susanna Cole, another property trainer, someone who's got her own large portfolio. and we're going to have a discussion about property and be there to answer your questions. So that's going to be quite interesting. Tuesday, I'm talking to a high-end electrical contractor in London to find out what's going on for him in London. He does a lot of the home technology stuff and works in lots of the big developments in London. So he's going to be interesting to see where we are. So, all right, thanks very much everybody for joining us. Take care, have a great night, and I'll speak to you on Monday.